Once you have your home under contract with a buyer, the next step is the inspection. They are hired by the buyer, and their goal is to make sure they are buying a property that is free from safety, health, and mechanical issues. As a seller, there are things you can do to make sure the inspection goes smoothly and the buyer is happy to proceed. Let me give you some tricks to pass home inspection from our local professionals. Hi, I'm Laura Clute with Ozark Gateway Realty, and I work with lakefront sellers who are animal owners. There are several tricks you can do as a seller to pass home inspection. If you chose to get a pre-listing inspection, hopefully you had time to get some of those problems identified and fixed. Either way, here are some ideas to make sure the process goes off without a hitch. One of the first things you can do is to keep your property clean. I know you've already been doing that with all the showings coming through, but the process needs to continue through all the way to closing. Especially after closing, you want to clean it up for the buyer. You will be making an impression upon the inspector and later the appraisal as to what to expect when they arrive and enter the home. So make sure the outside is cleaned up as well as the inside so they can view the siding, the foundation, the crawl space. You can even, if you're able to, get up on your roof, check for debris, missing shingles, loose nails, downspouts are in the proper position. Another thing you can do is empty your dishwasher and stove. I like to keep my pans in there, so I want to make sure I got my pans out of the stove. Or even just put soap in your dishwasher because they're going to run a cycle for you anyway, so you might as well have it ready. It's important that you replace any smoke alarm batteries just to make sure that they are all in working condition because they will test them, as well as change any filters like for the furnace. Make sure your thermostat is working and don't have it set too high or too low because they won't be able to test both the heat and air if you have it set in an extreme number. Make sure to remove any obstructions or clutter, especially in front of the heat and air, the breaker box, the attic, the basement, even closets. I know you're trying to pack up and get ready to move, but you got to make sure that everybody can get where they need to get, because if he doesn't able to fully inspect the property, he's going to make a note of that, and either the buyer is going to think that you're trying to hide something, or the inspector is going to have to come back and inspect it again, and that's just going to delay the whole closing process. So it's best for them to be able to get it to it the first time they're in there. It's also a good idea to have your electric box labeled, all the breakers. Get somebody to help you stand in each room and say this breaker goes to this and this breaker goes to that. And it's a good idea not to have any empty breaker spots in your breaker box because that can be a safety hazard. Also, you want to make sure as far as electrical goes that all your light bulbs are working and every fixture has a light bulb in it, because otherwise the inspector will have to make a note, and it's possible that that outlet is not working, that fixture is not working because there's not a light bulb in it. They don't know, and they can't test it, and they can't remove a light bulb from somewhere else and put it in there. They can't change anything. They can't pull up a carpet and look under the rug or anything like that. They can only look at what's there. They're not going to pull up the stove because they might tear the linoleum. So there's only so far that they can go. So you want to do your best to make sure everything's working for them to test when they get there. As a real estate agent, I know it's very difficult to find out which light switch goes to where. So if you could label them for the inspector, that would be really great. Leave any instructions or remote controls that are easily recognized out and available for them. And what would be even better is if you had a list of updates and repairs that you made to the property, or any warranty books or invoices, so they can reference that in their inspection report and know what to look for as they're inspecting each individual piece of the property. Remove locks from boxes, gates, crawl spaces, sheds, any doors, closets, attics. Anything that's locked up needs to be opened and available for the inspector to get into it. They have to inspect every square inch of the property inside and out, and to make the buyer aware of any issues. Check that all doors actually latch and windows and cabinets actually open and close and aren't stuck or can be locked and unlocked for safety issues. If there's, like a fire, they need to be able to know that they can get in and out as needed. Another trick to pass home inspection is to complete your honey-do list. Anything that needs attending to make sure that it's in working order for the inspector to see that everything in your home is in working order is a great time to do it now before the inspector comes. Also mow your lawn, trim your bushes, anything inside or outside. Are your toilets working? Is there any leaks under the sink or toilet or fridge or faucet or tub or shower? Fix those leaks and make sure everything is working order. We don't want to see water where it's not supposed to be. And have a plan for your pets. Of course, you can put them in a kennel or fenced in area, but just make sure that the inspector can get to everywhere he needs to go to, and it would be best for your pet if he was able to go with you because it'd be less stress for the inspector and the pet. One of the most important tricks for passing a home inspection is to make sure your utilities are on. They can't very well make sure anything's in working order if it's not working. So make sure the electric's on, the water is on, the gas is on, all pilots are lit. So if you haven't used your fireplace all summer, you need to make sure that pilot light's on for your water heater, your heat, anything that the gas runs to. The inspector will also get up on the roof and look for any cracked, rusted, missing flashing, especially around the fireplace. Of course, they're going to look for any loose or missing or buckled shingles, any nails that are popping out, or gaskets that might be drying up on a metal roof. Is there any type of water damage seen? Is there stains in the attic on the wood or on the ceiling? Moisture that's coming in? Is there mold on the drywall, on the paneling? Is there wood rot? Has there been flood damage? Is there water coming in through the foundation or the walls? Is there any sounds of leaks in the walls? Can they hear dripping? And then of course we get to plumbing. They're going to look in the crawl space, they're going to get in there and they're going to look for rusted, broken pipes, any toilets are running, is there any leaks, active leaks from pipes or faucets or seals. The inspector will inspect all the electrical systems. They'll check for any exposed wires, any wires not inside of a junction box, knob and tube wiring, which you may see in some older homes, spliced or taped wires, or no GFCIs. Those are ground fault circuit interrupters. I'm sure you've seen them. They're in kitchens and bathrooms where outlets have the red button, the reset button, so that you don't get electrocuted, so you can't throw a toaster oven in the bathtub with you. That's why those are there, so you can't get injured if the electrical gets too close to the water. Those are not commonly seen in homes in this area just because they've been grandfathered in. So it's a common occurrence to come up on a home inspection because if it was built new, that house would need a ground fault circuit interrupter. So that's a GFCI outlet if that comes up on your inspection report. The inspector will check heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. They'll make sure that there's not any cracked, hanging, disconnected ductwork, inconsistent temperature, as far as not staying at the same temperature that the thermostat says it is, or if the thermostat says it's 1 degree, and then when they read it out of the vent, it's another degree. Anything that the unit is noisy or makes a lot of noise when it's running, or the fan's running and there's no heat or air coming out. And they should check also systems that aren't even central, like a window air, a wall heater. All of that should be checked by the inspector. The inspector will also check the home for pests, anything like bats or mice or roaches, but probably the termite inspector is going to be the one that really comes and checks for things like termites. But the inspector will look for things like chewing of roofing material, nesting, especially in the attic, and maybe any chewed wires, things like that will be brought to attention in the inspection report. And usually our inspectors around here will get you an inspection report maybe within 24 hours of doing the inspection. Sometimes they'll even get it to you the same day. And they're always available for any questions that you have about the inspection once you've received the report. It's important for sellers to keep in mind that inspectors work for the buyer. It is the inspector's job to find things that are wrong. So sellers shouldn't be surprised if the buyer asks for repairs. It would look bad if the inspector didn't find anything wrong. The buyer would feel like, why did I hire you? The buyer also needs to keep in mind that they are not likely buying a new home, so there's going to be normal wear and tear, and things are going to be grandfathered in, like the GFCI. So it's important to focus on the health and safety issues, or maybe things that a buyer isn't comfortable doing on their own. Buyers should try to be reasonable in asking for repairs, or a seller may choose not to fix anything and say, take it as is. Of course, the buyer does have the option then to terminate the agreement if repairs cannot be negotiated. To help you better prepare, I've included information to download in the remarks below, the Ultimate Home Inspection Preparation Checklist. If you still have questions, feel free to reach out. Until then, see you next time.